How did ancient humans have privacy? You're lying in bed. The lights are off, the door is shut. Nobody can see you. Nobody can hear you. It feels normal. But for almost the entire history of our species, this situation didn't exist. No bedroom, no locked door, no private apartment. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived surrounded by other humans nearly every moment of the day. So if privacy barely existed, how did ancient people handle relationships, personal conversations, sleep, or even going to the bathroom? The answer reveals just how different their world was from ours.
For most of human history, people lived in small bands, usually ranging from a few dozen individuals. These weren't strangers. They were relatives, friends, hunting partners, and the people responsible for keeping you alive. Life happened together. Meals were shared, work was shared, stories were shared, even sleep was shared. In many hunter-gatherer camps, everyone rested around the same fire or inside shelters with very little separation between individuals. If someone laughed, others heard it. If an argument started, everyone knew. If a couple wanted time together, it wasn't exactly a secret. Yet people still found ways to create something that looked like privacy.
Not through walls, through social behavior. Anthropologists studying traditional hunter-gatherer communities have noticed several recurring patterns. One of the simplest was darkness. Night naturally reduced visibility. Even if people were nearby, darkness created a feeling of separation. Others couldn't easily see what you were doing, and that alone provided a sense of personal space. Distance also mattered. Couples often moved away from the center of camp when they wanted time alone. Not hundreds of yards away, that could be dangerous, but far enough that conversations became difficult to hear. A short walk into darkness could create enough separation to feel private. But the most important factor wasn't distance, it was cooperation. Everyone understood that certain moments weren't meant to be acknowledged. People respected invisible boundaries, not because they couldn't notice what was happening, because pretending not to notice was part of living together.
Modern humans do something similar all the time. You enter an elevator with strangers, everyone avoids eye contact, everyone understands the unspoken rules. Ancient communities developed their own versions of those rules. Privacy existed because people agreed to create it. This becomes even more interesting when we look at cultures where solitude wasn't considered desirable. Anthropologist Colin Turnbull, who lived among the Mututi people of Central Africa, observed that spending large amounts of time alone wasn't something people actively sought. In environments where survival depended on cooperation, isolation could feel uncomfortable rather than relaxing. Being separated from the group often meant vulnerability.
Today, many people see privacy as freedom. For much of human history, being alone could feel dangerous. Then comes the question everybody eventually asks: what about the bathroom? Ancient people obviously didn't have toilets, plumbing, or restroom stalls. Most groups designated areas away from sleeping spaces and food preparation areas. When someone needed to go, they simply walked to those locations. By modern standards, it wasn't completely private, but social customs did most of the work. Others generally gave people space and avoided interfering. Again, privacy came from behavior rather than architecture. The same principle applied to sleeping.
Evidence from sites such as Ohalo 2 suggests that ancient shelters were often extremely small. Families lived close together, personal space was limited. People slept near one another for warmth, protection, and security. A sleeping group was safer than a sleeping individual. Predators were real, cold nights were real. Staying together increased survival, and this pattern lasted far longer than many people realize. Even centuries ago, entire families commonly shared sleeping rooms and sometimes shared beds. The idea that every child should have their own bedroom is a surprisingly modern invention. So when did privacy begin to resemble what we experience today? Agriculture changed everything.
Once humans started farming around 10,000 years ago, they began settling permanently in one place. Permanent settlements led to permanent buildings led to walls, and walls created something humanity had rarely experienced before: separation. For the first time, people could divide living spaces into distinct areas, but privacy still wasn't universal. For thousands of years, separate rooms remained a luxury available mainly to wealthier households. Only relatively recently did private bedrooms become common for ordinary people. Then something unexpected happened. As privacy increased, loneliness increased too.
Modern life gives us levels of isolation that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors. You can spend an entire day inside your home without speaking to another person. You can live next to neighbors and never know their names. You can have complete privacy and still feel disconnected. Ancient humans faced the opposite reality. They rarely had physical privacy, but they almost never faced total social isolation. Their lives were deeply woven into the lives of everyone around them. So, did ancient humans have privacy?
Not in the way we think of it today. They didn't rely on walls, locked doors, or separate bedrooms.
Instead, they created privacy through distance, timing, trust, and shared social rules. It wasn't physical, it was psychological. For nearly 300,000 years, humans lived surrounded by other people almost constantly. Then we built walls, closed doors, and created private worlds for ourselves. We gained personal space, but somewhere along the way, we may have lost something too. If you enjoyed this video about how ancient humans balanced community and privacy, subscribe for more interesting videos exploring human history, anthropology, evolution, and the fascinating ways our ancestors lived differently from us.